Okay, we're gonna try this again because earlier I tried something different. I had the phone tilted to the side and I don't know what happened, but it messed with my audio. So we're gonna go back to basics. We're gonna go back to the way I normally do things here on Rock and Robe. I am Hugh Hefner, your host of Rock and Robe? Yeah. Well, it is warm, rather warm. I believe my temperature gauge says 80 here in good old northern Kentucky. So I'm not wearing my comment below telling me I need to do so for later videos. Because going forward, it's warm. I'm probably going to have the garage door open, so you're going to get some light display from outside on the pictures with glass, and you're going to see me with probably a little bit of a sunburn, maybe even sweating later on into the summer as I do these videos. Anyway, as promised, as I posted earlier, if you're following my Instagram, I am going to talk about this album. Is the different kind of truth. Sorry, I screwed that up. A different kind of truth. It is the last Van Halen album to feature anybody in Van Halen because it's the last Van Halen album. So as you know, Eddie Van Halen passed away October 6, 2020. I'm still young. I really was hoping to hear more Van Halen. I was kind of hoping, not that I hate David Lee Roth, love David Lee Roth, but Sammy's my favorite singer. So I was kind of hoping to see that come to fruition. As we know, the rumors are swirling in interviews from different members of the band, past and present, whatever that means, because the band is no more without Eddie Van Halen, that they were supposed to do a tour with both singers. Now, I think that's kind of cool. Those are the main albums. You know, you have a big chunk of albums with David Lee Roth all the way up to 1984, with the release of 1984, and then you have Sammy in the mid 80s all the way through the mid 90s, and then again early 2000s. And you know, they've done on and off stuff. I think they did that. There's a couple of songs, but the one that sticks out is Miwa's Magic on the Greatest Hits album that came out in the 90s with David Lee Roth. Now that his vocal stylings on this. If you listen to David Lee Roth's single stuff, solo stuff, I don't know what word I was looking for there. Singular, single, solo. Let's say it together. Solo. His voice kind of depreciates. It kind of gets a little bit lower. He's used a lot of hard drugs, drank a lot, smoked cigarettes. You know, he's been through the ringer. Bibbidi bibbidi bop. That kind of stuff. So his voice is a little different, but to me, it's kind of like I said in the video I recorded earlier that I wish you could hear because it was so good. But you know, Axl Rose has that real low and that real high voice that for some reason just sells. I mean, I really always thought it was like Slash or Duff singing the low stuff because I thought he just was only capable of singing the high stuff. It's not true. Much like Steven Tyler with Aerosmith, you know, bands that are comparable. Back in the day, early Aerosmith, his voice was a little different. Like if you listen to Dream On, it's a little deeper, it's a little bit more rigid. As we develop into the Aerosmith sound, the primo, like middle to late 80s, early 90s, that stuff sounds a little different. It's almost as if he's trying to mimic or replicate what Paul McCartney's voice sounded like later Beatles, like Let It Be or Hey Jude, where he's nah, 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 you know, you get that real, like almost throaty, guttural sound. He does that a lot, but he's still got that high octave. So getting back to the album, as you know, Michael Anthony left Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. Pretty much ever since Sammy's been out of the band, Michael Anthony's been out of the band. They've been together. He's been working with him on a lot of his solo stuff and with Chicken Foot, which is a great album. Well, they have some great albums. Not that some are better, whatever. You know what I mean. Some great albums. One of my favorite drummers plays for them, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. One of my favorite bands, one of my favorite drummers. So go check out that as well. But so to replace him, Wolfgang Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen's son, Alex Van Halen's nephew, plays bass in Van Halen. So it's three Van Halens and a David Lee Roth. So really, it's more Van Halen than Van Halen. And a Rob Zombie, whatever. But it's a really great album. Go check it out. I suggest it. I listened to it twice today. I had to make a road trip across the river where I live. The Guitar Center is about 45 minutes away. Had to go exchange some items and buy a new bass drum beater. I've been playing the same one for 15 years. Kind of wears out after a while. Probably should have replaced that a long time ago. But that gave me a really good chance to listen to this album. Not just once, but a couple of times. Once on the way there and once on the way back. And I had a couple errands in town. So I would check it out. It's really good. Not that Michael Anthony sucks, because he doesn't. He's one of my favorite bassists. One of my favorite bands, so I can't disregard, even though Running with the Devil is just But Alex and Eddie really did a solid when they put Wolfgang in the band, because if anybody else had done it, Wolfgang really kind of adds some meat to the album. Now I know that Eddie may have had a lot to say to do with the writing process, but the bass is really good. It's really heavy. It's really the production quality on it's really great. It's mixed really well, and Wolfgang's doing a lot of stuff. I mean, he's all over the place on that neck. So go listen to that stuff. But there's a lot of different sides to Eddie as well. It's not your typical, I mean, it is your typical. It's a lot of the same stuff, and it's, you know, got guitar solos and it's big sound. Alex is playing major crazy drum fills and stuff like that. You need a drink of water. However, it's 2012. It's a little different than, you know, 1978 or 1985. It's 2012. There's a little bit more oomph in the mixing, the production. Sound quality's better. You know, they're probably using some digital stuff. I don't know if they recorded it on tape or digital. I don't really know. So, you know, if somebody knows, comment below. Let me know. I'd like to know that myself if I forget to look it up. But yeah, Bullet Head is one song on there that I, for whatever reason, it gets stuck in my head. Bullet Head, whatever. It's reminiscent of something off of 3 with Gary Cherone. I don't remember which song, but for whatever reason, it just rattles in my head that kind of sounds a lot like that. But there are 13 songs on it. It is an amazing album. Stay Frosty. I got to talk about that, man. It's so cool, because back in the day, they did the song Ice Cream Man. Everybody knows that song from the first album. I think it was the first album. I think it was the first album. So that song is kind of kitschy. It's kind of got, you know, overdriven sexual themes about ice cream and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's kind of Dave's whole embodiment of who he is and what that whole thing is about and how that continues on even into a solo career. So to put that song on here, Stay Frosty, it wraps that song around to now. And it's kind of like telling people, hey man, we're still here, stay frosty, it's cool. We're still doing the same stuff. We're older, but we still got what it takes to be the ice cream man. But yeah, go check this album out, man. I know it's the last Van Halen album until they start digging in the vaults. But check it out. And you know, it's one of 3 last albums, realistically, because the last 3 albums were last albums. And it's sad, because I really thought there was more behind them, or in front of them, however you look at it. More coming, I guess is why I said behind. But the last album with Sammy was his last album, and it was also the 3rd to last album, Balance. Came out in the mid-90s, and then, like I mentioned, Gary Cherone put out an album with him. The singer from Extreme took over the mantle for a moment, and that was his first and last album. And then, you know, fast forward a decade and a couple years, they put out this album, which happened to be the last album. So don't disregard it, don't discredit it for, you know, it's just another washed up band, because Van Halen, man, is an amazing band, whether you want to believe it or not. I know I'm biased, I really don't care. I'm your average run-of-the-mill Van Halen fan, so it is my pleasure to talk about them. I'm always going to be a fan. Got the bumper sticker on my truck. I bought every single one of their albums. I think I bought this one, actually, ironically, maybe a month or 2 before his death, Eddie Van Halen. And then I realized that I was lacking Women and Children First, which is I think their second or third release. So I bought it as well. I'd heard it, listened to it on YouTube all the time. Speaking of listening to stuff on YouTube, before they dump stuff or before they start pulling stuff, you might go check out some of the footage that they have, because there's a lot of footage from back in the day when they were a new band, before, you know, the God of Thunder, Gene Simmons, recognized them as the major awesomeness that they are and made them big. Not that they wouldn't have done that anyway, but he helped in that. He helped them get their demos and stuff paid for. Also, I think Eddie and Alex played on a few Kiss demos, or at least some stuff for his solo album. But yeah, there's stuff like that floating around, and you can hear the lyrical quality is different, and they had it, but they didn't, and there's some songs that are mixed with other songs. There's some like stuff that was before the first album, or like around the first, second album coming out, that didn't make it again until 84, which is the end of the Roth era for the original era. So go check it out. I mean, it's cool stuff. It's worth a listen. It's just cool to hear different versions of Van Halen stuff. And I think there's a lot of stuff of him on Letterman back in the day too, sitting in. So that's cool. But yeah, like I said, it's warm. I'm not wearing my robe. If you want me to wear my robe, I will. But somebody's gonna say something on here, man. I'm not getting a lot of feedback. I need some feedback. So I'm Hugh Hefner signing off for Rock and Robe. Rock on, and go subscribe if you haven't, and give me some likes and comments. See you soon.